Greetings everyone and welcome to a new edition of the Gaming Codex, the show where I try to explain to you all the many terms used within video games and the video games industry. And today we'll be talking about hacking, sort of an extension to our previous show about cheating. According to the general definition, hacking is gain unauthorized access to data in a system or computer. In terms of video game hacking, it's still the same thing. Hacking is an action through which the user gains access to areas of the game that they should not have access to. And I don't mean levels of the game, but the underlying components of the engine, of the code, of the mechanics of the game itself. For example, the memory. We've talked about this in the last show, that memory is kind of where the game is and what the game mostly is. By manipulating memory using something as simple as a memory editor, you have the ability in a single player game to modify basically everything you want. Everything is a variable, everything is a value that can be changed whenever you want. But that's just one type of hacking, and usually one that isn't what you normally encounter in an online video game. Though again, this is not actually true. You do encounter memory hacking actually often in some video games that have really bad, and I mean terrible, multiplayer infrastructures where they're not built in such a way that there's a server on which everything takes place, a server that handles all instructions, all the code, all the events, and then just tells the clients what happens. The core idea of a functional multiplayer mode of a game is that the server never trusts the client. If they do trust the client, can absolutely, I don't know, do something like edit your life in GTA 5 to be unlimited in single player and forget to turn off that hack when you go into multiplayer and find out, oh, I'm still invulnerable, they're gonna ban me. But they won't, because Rockstar doesn't care. As long as you're buying those shark cards, they don't care at all. But I'll get back to that soon. And memory editing is just one way through which you can achieve hacking. You can also actually inject code into the game. You basically hijack the runtime, injecting different commands that just replace what the game would have normally done at that current time. For example, instead of having the game decrease the value of your life when you get hit, you can actually flip that, well, it's not a bit, that instruction of subtract, you can set it to add, so it'll add life every time you get hit. That may work even in multiplayer sometimes if the servers again are horrible, or if there aren't any. And when talking about multiplayer games, there is always the classic abuse of the packets themselves, the ones that are sent by the game to the server and then sent back. These can be abused in many ways, not just to give you a tangible direct advantage with giving you more life, but decoding things that you shouldn't know, or at least it shouldn't be absolutely certain and indicated to you via very bright rectangles that you can see through walls. By intercepting these packets, you can enable things like wall hacking, the ability to see through walls. So you could sort of do that by disabling the rendering of the textures too, and just have everything be wireframe. You can also enable things like aimbots, things that will shoot people in the face the moment they come on screen. Or if it's a really bad multiplayer game, you can just introduce some lag by temporarily switching off your connection to the internet. You can make a switch for that, not a switch as in a router kind of thing, but an actual flip, an on-off switch that turns off your internet for a second or two, and then when you switch it back on, the game will sort of be confused as to what happened to you during that time. So when it's off, you can move behind the enemy, turn it on, and the game will say, oh, you moved here, okay, I'm gonna compensate for the lag, I'm gonna teleport you right there, and you will get a free hit. And the enemy will just wonder, wow, how do you move so fast? Your kung fu must be amazing, whereas you are just hacking, most likely in For Honor. Now, what is the popular definition of video game hacking? Well, that would be something that game developers never fix. Now, this isn't true. Game developers really don't get any sort of enjoyment by seeing the multiplayer experience being ruined for everybody because of a couple of hackers. But games are complicated things. They have many different components, many of which were maybe not created with the idea of stopping hackers. They were created with the idea of, oh, this has to work, do anything in your power to make it work. And that leads to maybe not the cleanest code possible. It may lead to some things, some elements that can be exploited, bugs that can be abused to the point where they unlock the ability to pretty much screw with everybody else in the game. And unless you have a really dedicated QA department that will just do anything and everything possible over the course of decades, you really can't fix those. You can't fix all of those, which is why you will rarely see a game launched that is completely immune to hacking, though it will gain that ability over the course of time because the developers don't have time to see what the community comes up with, what the tool creators, the people that make the hacking tools, what they come up with, then they'll try and fix each issue as it comes along. And they will sometimes implement third-party systems that allow you to discern whether the game was modified in some way. Things like Battlelight, things like the other thing that was implemented in Rainbow Six Siege that didn't work at all, things like VAC, which sometimes just doesn't work. And with time things do get better, but at the same time the hackers also have more time at their disposal to come up with new ideas, new ways to hack the game and exploit things that the developer has not fixed because the developer does not know that they're there or cannot fix because modifying certain components would take quite a lot of time, quite a lot of resources, basically rebuilding a core component of the game, or sometimes even just changing the way that the multiplayer works, which is what For Honor will be doing when switching from a peer-to-peer type system where one person is the host and everybody connects to them, basically, to a server type structure where a safe, secure server that doesn't trust the clients is where everything takes place. Now that will not mean that every account of hacking will disappear from For Honor, but it will be toned down a bit, so they are fixing it. It'll never be perfect, so in a way that popular definition is correct, but it can be diminished. Now what is the marketing definition of hacking? Well, that'll be what hacking? There's also the thing that sort of kind of sticks out in certain situations. If a game is big enough, selling well enough, and the hacking doesn't actually interfere with that, some companies will not care. Now, I'm not saying that Rockstar doesn't care, but Rockstar doesn't care. The only time Rockstar actually does seem to acknowledge that the multiplayer of GTA 5, GTA Online has problems, is when people give themselves large amounts of money. And because that means they can sell shark cards to those people, then it's the ban hammer for everybody. Otherwise, it's business as usual. Your car's exploding, there's a windmill in your garage, you can't do a mission because suddenly there are 15 planes hovering around and falling out of the sky. That's business as usual. Of course, some hackers actually don't do bad things. As I've said, the people that give out money, they actually are not doing something bad to the players, just to Rockstar, or the people turning other people into cows. That's not something bad either. I mean, why would you not like to be a cow in GTA Online? It'll be amazing. You could go around mooing at people. That should be a standard feature in every game. But sadly, do have to resort to hacking for that. Now again, not all developers share this sentiment. Like, most of them just want to get their games fixed and everybody to enjoy them properly without the fear that some hacker's gonna show up and ruin everybody's fun. But some just don't care. So closes this edition of the Gaming Codex. Come back next time when we will talk about a whole different subject. Goodbye.